Strite. Oregon's entering Pac-12 play. Now is really it. When it happens, Michael, this is when champions are made in conference play.
Absolutely. And Oregon is feeling great coming into this Pac-12 play. And, we're going to talk about the Pac-12 as a whole, too. We're going to talk about what Oregon has ahead. We're talking about the state of the conference. But I love it. I love conference play. I love getting to look up and down the schedule. I love thinking about who Oregon's biggest threats are going to be in the North and who Oregon might be facing in a Pac-12 championship game coming out of the South. I'm also just pumped for our first Pac-12 championship football game that's going to be in Las Vegas. They moved it there to match with the Pac-12 men's and women's basketball tournaments. They're in that new Vegas Raiders Stadium, Allegiant Stadium out there in Vegas. It's going to be a blast.
Well, I don't know. I'm too excited about it being in Vegas. Being from the Bay Area, us both.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier to go to the games being at the Niners Stadium. Now, if I want to cover or go to a game, I got to go all the way to Vegas. But luckily, Allegiant and Southwest, they got those direct flights from Eugene. So,
yeah, they're like $12.
Yeah. They got those promos right now. Yeah. So, let's get into it, Michael. What did we learn from Stony Brook?
Yeah. So, it's kind of what we said was going to happen, I guess. We got to see a little bit more than just Anthony Brown. We got to see a lot of positives on both sides of the football, and we got to see the kind of dominant win that you expect from what was then number 4 Oregon and is now number 3 Oregon as they continue to move up. I do want to get into this game, but the ironic thing for Oregon is that the most meaningful thing that happened for them last week was Fresno State playing the way they did and taking down UCLA, not just for UCLA necessarily, but Fresno State now is a ranked opponent that is a ranked win for Oregon, and now Oregon comes into Pac-12 play with this win under their belt and 2 ranked victories under their belt.
Yeah, and Chris Ball said it post-game too. Fresno State, they are the Bulldogs, but those players, they were some real dogs. Like, they came to play in Autzen, and they almost put off the upset. Jake Haener, he is for real. He will lead the Bulldogs to wherever they go throughout the season, but they won't just be ranked in the low 20s. Look for them. At the end of the season, they'll probably be ranked maybe 15th overall in the country. That's how good this team really is. So that was a big win for them. I was debating whether I wanted UCLA or Fresno State to win, just because Oregon is going to face both those teams. And I thought it would have been a better matchup for undefeated Oregon versus undefeated UCLA, a preview of the Pac-12 championship game mid-season, right in the middle of Pac-12 play. But maybe it's just a one-loss UCLA team who does become ranked by then again, because right now, actually, they're still ranked.
Yeah, they held on by a thread,
Barely, yeah. So maybe they'll be ranked higher by the next time we play them, so that our resume looks better as we get into the college football playoff scenario.
Yeah, definitely. So diving into the Stony Brook game, I saw a lot of the same thing from the defense in the fact that they gave up some yards. They had some drives that didn't look so pretty, but then they were also really clutch. They got the interceptions. They got the big sacks, they got the big stops, and at the end of the day, they only gave up 7 points, and it was a blowout because of the way the Oregon's defense came up in the big moments. And I think that's just going to be a theme for them all year, and these are players that figure it out. They bend but don't break, and there was a lot more bend but don't break on that side of the football for me.
Yeah, I'll tell you something that I learned from this team. I've been hearing it from the coaches and from some other media members about this young receiving core, all these freshman receivers coming in. I knew they were big time, but obviously didn't get to see it until this Stony Brook game. You see Troy Franklin do what he did. You see Dante Thornton, first collegiate catch of his career, goes for the touchdown. He's ecstatic. He's running all over the field and whatnot. His teammates were happy for him. And in that play, I don't know if people saw, Troy Franklin, he gave his body up for Dante Thornton for him to be able to get that touchdown. He was on the field for a few minutes after the play, got up, and was fine after. But that's going to be the future of the wide receiver core right there. And those guys, they're playing amazing just as freshmen. I can't wait to see what they do in the future.
Yeah, they got depth, and you saw, I believe, you subtract the quarterbacks, I think they had 5 or 6 different players carry the football. They had a bunch of players catch the ball. They, in a game like this, they potentially made some noise as one of the best tight end cores that the entire country has. I mean, they have really good third and fourth string tight ends on this team. It's deep. And then you're talking about DJ Johnson, who's a tight end that can come in and get a sack for you on the other side of the ball. They were so good on just the amount of options that you feel like the quarterback has. And I think that's the most important thing, is that Anthony Brown, who left the game, had a real injury concern there, but he's going to be healthy. He's good for now. And moving forward, he's going to be successful because of the weapons that he has. And he's somebody that knows how to distribute, knows where the ball needs to go, and takes care of it, just takes care of the football in terms of getting it in the hands of the talent that's all around him, including in front of him on the offensive line. So deep. And I think moving into Pac-12 play, I feel even better about this team than the last 2 Pac-12 championship teams because of what I'm seeing on the depth. This is a team that just did those last 2 victories without Kayvon Thibodeau, and you didn't even notice he was missing. I mean, you really didn't notice that he was not on the field, besides the fact that the cameras kept showing him on the field, celebrating with his teammates and having a grand old time, even though he wishes he was playing. For me, it didn't feel like he was missing, other than the kind of big strip sack or huge moment that you would expect someone like him to have in a game. DJ Johnson picked up the slack. Verone McKinley picked up the slack. And I think the depth of this team is just better than we've ever seen it under Mario Cristobal.
I don't know if because there's some points throughout the games where you kind of were looking at, like, right now we need Kayvon on the field to just get that pressure, because the pressure that he creates allows other players on the D line to get sacks. So there's definitely some points throughout some of those games where it seemed like the Ducks really just needed a sack or some pressure on the quarterback. But otherwise than that, you mentioned Verone McKinley. I've been talking about him for since last year. This secondary group is really coming together. This used to be a real weakness for the Ducks. And after mentoring these guys are what now? Juniors now. They got mentored. They've been building to be better players. And then now you bring in one of Cal's coaches, Marcel Yates. He comes in for the secondary, and he's just totally revamped this team. The players have talked about it. He gives sort of a coach-player perspective. He tells you not only the schematics, but what other people are doing and how you should be playing it. And the players, especially Verone, he's loved that. He's loved talking and being coached under to Coach Yates. And you see it not only with him, but like you talk about the depth in that secondary, so that you can go to that second or third string corner and you're still comfortable with them, with whoever's out on the field.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. That's one of the beauties of college football, is that when you're really invested in a team, you see guys like Jamal Hill, Verone McKinley, Mikhail Wright, and you see them when they're young and promising players that don't play as much or make some mistakes. And then you get to watch a few years later, and it's the exact same crew. And I know I'm missing a couple players too that are in there in that secondary, but it's like the same group. And now they're really experienced, and they're making plays, and they're comfortable, and they're locking it down. And it's really great to see. You had a great point there about the coaching. We don't praise these coaches enough. Happy birthday, Mario Cristobal. And today's his birthday, and he's been getting a lot of praise recently, but it goes beneath that too, I think. Joe Moorhead's done fantastic. Tim DeRuyter's stepped in seamlessly on the defensive side, bringing along guys like Marcel Yates that, deserves a lot of credit. If the secondary ends up taking a big leap from last year, the credit's going to belong to the players and to Yates. And the coaching has been really sharp all the way around, up and down. And a funny part of that too is I was on Reddit the other day, and there's, UConn's football team is a disaster, and they're firing all their coaches, and they're going to lose all their games this year pretty much. And there's a Reddit comment I see that goes, we need Joe Moorhead to come save us. Let's get Joe Moorhead next year. And I'm like, it's too early for this. Oregon has not been able to keep both of their coordinators the same for 2 years in a row, going back like 5 or 6 years now. Don't start hitting me with this again. We need to keep this stuff the same.
Yeah, we definitely do. And that kind of goes into our next topic right here of what's the most important skills group on this Oregon team. I want to hear your thoughts on the most important group, Michael.
Well, Izzy, I'm a big offensive line guy. That's always going to be me. That's where I was when I played in high school. That's what Mario Cristobal prides himself on. And I think that is going to be the backbone of this whole team. And the offensive line is fantastic. It's a fantastic group, as it always is. They might have to figure out who's going to be where and who's comfortable and get the reps together as an offensive line, but they've gotten that now, and they're just getting better and better. And, you know, all of the talk about why Oregon was able to beat Ohio State, and there's a lot of different factors. One of them was that the offensive line just pushed Ohio State around. Like, they just pushed them back. And if you come into every game in this Pac-12 schedule and you have that Oregon 5 front line being able to really move around and just bully the defensive line all game, you're going to be rushing the ball for 100-plus yards, and you're going to make life really easy for Anthony Brown. I think everything just builds off of this group, and I'm so pumped to watch this offensive line all year and to get to know that group of 5 even better, because you know, they're going to be in awards conversations. They're going to be in the NFL draft conversations if they keep up at this pace. And that's where I'm at. I'm always going to be an Oregon offensive line guy. And to be honest with you, I think Mario Cristobal would agree with me as well.
I have no doubt that he would agree with you right there. Definitely no doubt right there. I mean, we both know what he would say to that. But I'm going to take it a different route. I'm going to say the secondary squad, because I mentioned before, Oregon's past secondary squads in previous years have not been good at all. Like, they've been
hit
decent.
and miss.
They haven't been. Yeah, exactly. They made some big plays, yeah, but they give up a lot of huge plays as well. And this team right here, yeah, you could talk about how C.J. Stroud and Jake Kaner, they kind of carved up the defense, but that was kind of on purpose. The way that the secondary was playing, there were some soft spots in the zones, which was okay. They were willing to give up those 10, 15-yard plays rather than giving up a 30-yard or 40-yard touchdown. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? You can't be everywhere at once. So, yeah, sometimes there's going to be soft spots in the zone, and it looks like the quarterback is just carving up your whole entire secondary, and they don't look at it at all. When in reality, it's just not like that at all. And you look at the person who's leading the secondary, Verone McKinley. They call him the general. They don't call him that for no reason. He truly leads that secondary. Not only the secondary, he leads the defense as well. Now, we talk about Noah Sewell all the time, but I feel like Verone McKinley and Kayvon, those guys are the 2 main leaders of the defense. You can throw Noah as well to say that they're the 3 main leaders, but Verone and Kayvon, they really step up when the team needs them. And Verone, if you listen to how he talks about his 3 interceptions, he breaks it down really well. He's very intellectual. He knows how to speak about the plays and stuff like that and everything else. And he spoke about it as like being Dennis Rodman, getting rebounds off the backboard, and that kind of made me laugh, because one thing about Verone, he's kind of an old soul. He makes a lot of 90s references. His favorite actor is Denzel Washington. So throughout press conferences, if you guys hear something like that Dennis Rodman comment, I laugh, because I knew that was just something that's just part of his personality. Is a guy from the 90s he's comparing himself to. So, yeah, I mean, you just look at it as a whole. That secondary, because of how good they've been this year, the defense has been able to do everything else, because once you have a secondary that can cover for 3 to 4 seconds, I mean, what more can you ask for that?
Yeah, and I was laughing because it's really funny at this point that being into 90s stuff makes you an old soul, but it's true, because Verone was born in 2000 probably, right? He was born in 2000, 2001 at this point. So 90s references is old school. That's where we're at. And I agree that I think when this team is going to be tested, when they're going to have bad halves, bad quarters, when they're going to be, in deficits late in games, I think Verone McKinley, more than those other two guys, is going to be the general. I think he's going to be the guy that is the calm that this team needs. And you're going to get a lot of energy from Kayvon. You're going to get a lot of excitement from Noah Sewell. You're going to get leadership from those guys. But I think Verone McKinley is going to be the soft spot, I think, where the team can lean on Verone's leadership when they're really challenged. And so, yeah, that secondary, another thing to touch on is what the secondary has been doing at the next level. We're going from Javon Holland and Diamador Lenore and Thomas Graham Jr. have all had really incredible first couple weeks of NFL action. Like, they've all surpassed what you would expect from players in their first and second years. And that's like all three of them, right? So Oregon's had a really strong track record that's come out of nowhere in the last couple of years of getting these secondary players to be really intelligent and to be really not just talented, but intelligent and aware of football in a way that translates beautifully to the next level. And Verone McKinley strikes me as the next evolution of that and the next big Oregon player to go be everyday player on Sundays. I know Izzy, we both as Niners fans are loving Diamador Lenore in a Niners uniform. He's not just playing, he's out there every play. Like, he's leading the league in defensive snaps right now. He's incredible. And another one I want to touch on is Mikhail Wright. I think Mikhail Wright's having a very slow but impressive development as he grows and grows into being a lockdown corner. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe next year or even the year after that, if he sticks around, we start hearing about Mikhail Wright as like a first-round, second-round draft pick and like one of the top cornerbacks available in the draft. He's somebody that has a lot of potential.
Yeah, and Javon Holland, he's the highest rated defensive player, a rookie player right now in the league, which is amazing. I mean, for Oregon fans, that's really not a surprise as we've seen what he's done throughout his collegiate career. And you talk about Mikhail Wright. I don't know if you guys like focus on him during games or whatnot, but he's always talking. He's always in the receiver's face. He makes it known when you drop a pass. He wants you to make sure that you know that you dropped the pass, even though as a receiver you're already feeling bad about that. And then you have a corner talking in your face right there, yelling at you, clapping at you, and you're just getting more frustrated. He brings a whole entire new energy to that cornerback position because DJ James, he's more that calm, eloquent corner. Like, he'll do his job. He won't really talk. He will show emotion when he makes big plays because, of course, who doesn't? But he's more of the calmer dude compared to Mikhail Wright, who's just always just in your face, and he makes plays to back up all his talk too. So, which is even more amazing.
Yeah, all around, so many great characters, so many leaders on this defense. So, offense, offensive line, defense, secondary. We got a couple more minutes left here before we talk about next week's game. I want to give a little bit of talk about the quarterback position as well moving forward for Oregon, because I think the kind of quarterback that Oregon gets over the course of the season determines whether this is a team that maybe drops a game in Pac-12 play, maybe has to settle for the Rose Bowl or even something less than the Rose Bowl if they happen to lose the Pac-12 title game. But if you get, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying I'm going to build off this and say if you get the kind of play from Anthony Brown that we've been seeing, which has been very sharp, very good, then I'm all aboard this being an undefeated Pac-12 team potentially. And if you see even more from Anthony Brown than what I've seen, then I'm willing to tell you that they're going to compete against whoever they play in a college football playoff situation. I'm not ready to say that quite yet, but the quarterback position is going to just set the table for how high Oregon fans can hope or how low the season might go. I think it all just depends on what ends up shaking out there, and obviously that'll most likely be Anthony Brown's performance.
Most definitely. And I just want to say something. As the Ducks got that third ranking in the AP poll, this is exactly where the Ducks want to stay at, either third or second, because this is like where you get to play a Georgia or Oklahoma rather than in Alabama in the Cotton Bowl. So Oregon, they have to do everything they can in the season to stay in this top 3 rankings. They don't want to fall to 4, definitely not to 5 or 6. They had to stay in this top 3 because that's when they get the chance to actually go to the national championship game. And something about this past weekend, we all saw Alabama is vulnerable. Florida proved it to the whole entire country how vulnerable this Alabama team is because, yes, they will come out firing on all cylinders. But when it comes down to it, they just didn't have enough gas to keep going, and they barely edged it out against this Florida Gators team, which will be good come to season's end. They will definitely have a New Year's Six bowl. They will be appearing in one of those games. But Alabama's vulnerable. That's all I'm going to say, Michael. This could be the year. We'll get into the more prediction stuff because you know me and my hot takes, and I 100% believe in these takes as well.
Yeah. So, Izzy, we're going to head over to Oregon's game coming up. This is an interesting one. You're looking at the number 3 ranked Ducks. They kick off Pac-12 play. They're at home, and they're facing what I think most people would put down as the worst team in the Pac-12 right now, an Arizona football program that just lost to BYU and then Northern Arizona this past week, an FCS team. You're looking at an Arizona team that is really scrambling. I believe they were also the worst Pac-12 team last year as well. I mean, they've been just scrambling. Like they're looking for any sign of hope to be on the way up. And so a lot of factors leaning in Oregon's favor, a lot for people to say that Oregon should take care of business here. The one factor I'm going to throw into the wrinkles, that 7:30 p.m. kickoff. And Izzy, last week I did a deep dive, and I found that so far there's been 15 Pac-12 games. At least one Pac-12 team is playing. Yeah, it was 15 games where one of the teams is Pac-12 and the kickoff is after 5:30 p.m. Pacific. So Pac-12 after dark games. And the underdog is 14-1 against the spread and like 9-6 outright. So the underdog is winning these games even more often than the favorite is. And the underdog is at least making it closer of a game than people think in almost every single one of these games. Every late night game featuring a Pac-12 team has been closer than people thought. The only exception was Oregon State versus Hawaii. So I'm going to look up real quick what the current spread is on this. Not that I'm betting on anything here. I'm just curious where they're going to put it. But I expect this game to be a lot closer than a total blowout.
Well, here's why you're wrong, Michael. Arizona right now, from CBS Sports, they are ranked as the worst D1 FBS college football team in the country. So not only the Pac-12, but you look at all the other conferences, they are the worst college football team. And yeah, just because it's a night game, they might do something. But I don't think they will do anything against this Oregon team. Because one thing about this Oregon team, they are ready to play whenever, wherever. After that rain delay that they had last week where it got delayed by like 30 minutes or so, whatever it was, I forgot who it was I asked, but they said they're ready to play whenever. They don't care where it's at. They don't care who it is, what time it is. They'll play 6 a.m. They'll play at midnight. They don't care. They are always ready to play someone because they know they are the better team and they will win. So this 7:30 night game, it will be something new for them because they also have that Cal Friday night game as well at 7:30. So this will be a good preparation to see how they play well at night. And it's against Arizona as well. So nothing to worry about for them there. Arizona, they didn't even know their starting quarterback until 2 days ago. So, I mean, that's all you really need to know about them, really.
Yeah, there isn't much to break down on Arizona's side of things. The one thing I'm going to throw in there is that the main problem for them has been they're the worst third down team in the country right now. So if they keep just getting into long third downs, 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10s, and they're not converting those, Oregon's in great shape to win the game. I think the only chance Arizona has of making it interesting is if they actually get into some 3rd and short situations and if they can convert some more of those longer situations. It's really not a very well thought out argument. I'll say it, but I'm on Team Chaos for Pac-12 After Dark. I think it's always just going to be a weird game. I know this Oregon team's ready to play anytime, anywhere, and that might be them this year. That might be that they take care of business every single time they need to. The spread on this game is 28.5. I think Oregon wins comfortably, but I think it might be a 17 to 24 point win. I think it might be a game where at halftime we're kind of scratching our heads saying, oh boy, Oregon's only up by 10 points right now. Okay, cool. Maybe it's 13 to 7 or something.
Yeah, that happened in the
crazy.
Stony Brook game
So
as well.
disagree. Yeah, same thing as the Stony Brook game. I think we might be in the same boat. But of course, in the Stony Brook game, they end up winning by 40 points. So just to confirm again, is you think Oregon takes this game by 30 or more points?
By 30 or more? Yeah, why not? I'll take that. Yeah.
All right.
You saw in the second half against Stony Brook, when they smell blood on the water, they're going to go for it. So this team, they won't ever let off the gas pedal because they know every week, Cristobal talks about it, 1-0 every week, 1-0 every week, because they know every week matters to the committee, and they are trying to win a national championship this year. I've already said this before. Amongst the coaching staff, they really believe – now, teams always say this all the time, but they actually really believe that this is their year. This is the time that Oregon can change that O from for 0 championships to 1 natty this year. So they're ready this year. They believe in this team. So they will make sure when they against opponents who aren't as strong as them, they will blow them out, because post game too, Noah Sewell was talking about how they played down to their level, and they don't want to do that again against a team that's lower than them in playing standards. So they will definitely look for them to come out hot, because they've come out slow in these past few games.
And let's go big picture at the Pac-12 as a whole right now, Izzy. I want to point out that at the beginning of the season, which is always, you never know how good teams are at the beginning of the season in the preseason polls, but Washington was ranked and they're not playing well at all right now. Utah was ranked and they really are struggling right now and really not having a great time. Who else was it? UCLA was obviously ranked a lot higher. USC's in the dumpster. Maybe their whole coaching flip is going to turn things around and they might end up the season still find a way to get ranked, but they're not ranked right now.
One thing about the interim USC head coach, he was Oregon's secondary coach a few years back. So he's a really good coach. He's one of the people that brought in a lot of those Los Angeles recruits to this Oregon team. And you see what he's kind of done for USC, bring kids more that are in their backyard back to USC and not letting them go to other Pac-12 schools or across the country. So he's a really great guy. Dante Williams, definitely look for USC to step up their game later this season.
Yeah, so you look at Oregon at number 3, and then the next best teams in the Pac-12 right now are UCLA coming off a loss and Arizona State coming off a loss. So last thing I want to ask you is, who do you think is going to scare Oregon the most in the Pac-12 North? And then are you still on Team UCLA for who are going to be the Pac-12 South champion?
Yeah, I'm definitely on UCLA still, but it will be a close race between ASU and USC as well. That Pac-12 South conference, like sub-conference, it's going to get real there throughout the season. And for Pac-12 North, I'll say Stanford. Stanford, they did not look good in their first game at all, and they made some adjustments going with their freshman quarterback, and they've really showed up. So I feel like this away Stanford game will be a tough game for the Ducks.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tougher game than people realize. I think it's going to be a lot like the same thing as Fresno State, and I'm going to pull out Oregon State. I think Oregon definitely beats Oregon State pretty handily because they're so angry about last year, but in terms of the Pac-12 North right now, this might say more about how bad the Pac-12 North is as a whole right now, but I think Oregon State is going to push Oregon and make it a fight and make it a really interesting game. And I can't really say that about some of these other opponents right now with the way they're looking. So that's going to be a throw out there for maybe one of the teams that challenges Oregon the most and makes it the most interesting. But yeah, Oregon State and Stanford for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for us today, folks. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to follow us at Dash Sports TV on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. Check out our website at dashsports.tv and make sure to catch our weekly Friday shows as well.